Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time and joining us today. I know it's over your work hours, but I'm glad you all are here. I see we have very good participants who are joining in. Good evening and welcome to NASSCOM and entity session. Quickly, I just want to introduce our speaker for today, Alicia Allen, Global in Delivery Executive Projects and Application Services at Entity Data Services. Alicia is responsible for ensuring entity data is positioned to provide solutions to support the contractual needs with our manufacturing clients. In addition to her role, she serves as everyone. Thank you for taking time. She serves as the diversity and inclusion single point of contact. Hours, but I'm glad you all are here. I see we have very good participants who. I'm sorry, I think there was a small technical glitch, but I'm assuming you can hear me good now. So like I mentioned, Alicia, in addition to her role, she also serves as the diversity and inclusion single point of contact for project and application services. She works with other SPOCs and champions as part of the diversity and inclusion office, also helping to drive D&I corporate initiatives and business units specific to D&I programs. I have a small video of entity before we begin the presentation. I'm going to share my screen.
What does it mean to be successful? We think true success is defining your goals on your own terms, creating your own path on your own journey. It's aspiring to learn and grow and going above and beyond to help others. Success is when great passion and strong core values unite. It's when you inspire and lead with a vision. Success is having the freedom to spend time with those who matter. And about creating the world you've always dreamed of. Write your success story with NTT Data.
Over to you, Alicia.
Great. Thank you. And welcome, everyone. And thank you for your participation today. My name is Alicia Allen, and I've been with Entity Data for nearly 16 years. And I've been a project manager for 20 years. Yep, project management has always been practiced informally, but it's been around since the mid-century. Today, we're going to talk about project management in IT. And as you guys move forward in choosing career paths, we definitely want you to consider the possibilities of project management. As you see on my screen, the backdrop says, tomorrow is ours. And that's what we believe at Entity Data. But I chose this background specifically because tomorrow is yours. And there's so many career paths and opportunities out there for you to explore. Project management in IT is just one of them. Today, we'll talk about what is project management. Today, we'll talk about what is project management, what's the difference between IT project management and just project management, what's the role of a project manager, what's project life cycle, how do you deliver a project, and what knowledge areas for project management exist, and with emerging technologies, what is the role of project management? And then lastly, we'll close out with emerging careers in project management. So we have a pretty full agenda today. But before we get started, I wanted to just make sure we did some housekeeping. We have a few poll questions that we'll do throughout the presentation. There won't be any interaction throughout. We'll hold most of the questions until the end. But if there's something pertinent, if you can't hear or you're not seeing the presentation, please make sure you let us know. I did see a hand raised recently. Was there something that we needed to address, Shivani?
No, that's okay, Alicia, you can proceed.
Okay, well, let's go with the first poll question before we get started with the presentation. We had a couple just general to make sure people understood the flow and so forth. So if you can share the first poll question so we can get a feel for the audience that we have today. Have you attended a NASSCOM webinar before? Okay, so very few, so welcome, definitely. We want to thank you for your participation today, and we hope that this information allows you to make some decisions one way or the other, so great. Okay, so did we have another question that we wanted to just talk through real quick? What motivated you to register for this webinar? I'm really trying to get an understanding of who we have in the audience. Okay, grow your general knowledge, develop your knowledge of project management. Okay, great. So maybe you have a little bit of knowledge, you've done some investigation, or you're starting your career in project management and you're trying to grow your knowledge or develop a better understanding of project management. Okay, and I think we have one more. Okay, are there any things you would like me to elaborate on during this session? Resource management, scope. Okay, so we have, I think resource management is probably going to be the top topic. So as I go through my presentation and we touch on the knowledge areas for project management, we'll dive a little bit more into resource management and make sure we cover that in detail. So here's our agenda that we'll move forward with. Let's go ahead and get started. So what is project management? I know you hear that term used loosely a lot, but project management is the use of specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to deliver something of value to people. It's about ensuring certain goals are being achieved. And we use project management, whether we realize it, a lot informally. When an organization needs to produce a product or a service, when your task or goal is deadline driven, when there are multiple stakeholders or teams involved, when there's a need to manage risk or issues. All of the things listed here are criteria for when you require project management. And today, we live in a project economy where projects are a driving force behind work is being done. Change is realized, value is delivered. And in the project economy, the worldwide growth of project management proves its value as being a key topic in education. As most of you know, if you've done any research, you know about PMI and being PMP certified, being recognized as a strategic organization. As I mentioned, PMI, Project Management Institute, which is a global institution that houses a lot of resources for those of us in the project management field. And it's a genuine career path with a true trajectory that you'll see as we talk through this. I am PMP certified. I have been for the majority of my project management career, but one myth that's out there is you can't be a project manager unless you're PMP certified. And that's not true. Being a good project manager is something you learn. Even those that get PMP certifications right out of the door or out of the gate, they still have to learn the intricacies of being a project manager and how to manage people and teams and budgets. So while a certification is great and it adds extreme value, it's not a mandatory requirement to start out being a project manager. So what is the difference between IT project management and just regular project management? Because you hear those terms interchangeably a lot. IT project management is a successful oversight of any information technology projects that an organization undertakes. IT project managers are responsible for planning, budgeting, executing, leading, troubleshooting, and maintaining these projects. And the kinds of things that an IT project manager might do is typical ones would be upgrades or rollout of new equipment. I can imagine everybody on this call today has a laptop or a desktop or some type of device. You know that they all go out of warranty, and at some point they need to be upgraded. So installation of hardware, implementation of new solutions, implementation of new software, websites, application development. So as I mentioned at the beginning, my title is a little bit different than what it says out there on LinkedIn. For years, I've been a global PMO director, meaning I have a team of project managers all over the globe. I recently changed into a global delivery executive role, and I manage a team of application developers. While they are not project managers, they still do some form of project management in the delivery of the business and the service offerings that we deliver at NTT Data. And the last one here that most people can imagine is help desk services. An IT project manager stood up that help desk. You may only think of it as who do I call when I have a problem, but there's somebody that determines how many people need to man the phone, how many people need to be there doing certain shifts, how many people need to have certain skill sets. All of that was done by an IT project manager. So these are the types of functions and the types of role that a IT project manager would do. So what is a project manager, and more specifically, what is a project? So project managers really are project professionals. And the reason why I say project professionals, because as you'll see, you can be a project manager, a program manager, a portfolio manager, or a portfolio director. And all of those deal with managing some types of projects. So you have another poll question coming up. I'm planning a wedding. Would you consider that to be a project? I see some no's. Okay, see some no's, but an overwhelming amount of yeses. And the answer is yes. Planning that wedding is considered a project, and for the reasons that I'm going to explain to you here. A project is an effort to create or modify a specific product or service, and projects are temporary work efforts with a clear beginning and an end. There is a clear beginning and a clear end date to planning that wedding. There's a team that's helping with the planning, whether it's the vendors, your planning coordinator, the florist, the musician. There's a clear budget, and there's a schedule and a set of expectations that need to be met, meaning all the things that are being planned need to occur on the end date. D-Day is the wedding day. So with each project, it's unique and it differs from a routine operation and the ongoing activities of an organization. And that, quite honestly, was what drove me into this profession. I didn't start out as a project manager. I actually started out as an application developer. And I moved into database administration and business analytics. And then I had a colleague that noticed how I was able to manage teams and lead people. And they thought, hey, I think you'll make a great project manager. You should look into this. And I thought, project management, that's not what I went to school for. I have an IT degree. I have a degree in computer business science, computer science, and I'm going to be an IT developer. But I listened, as hopefully you'll listen today, and I was able to see that, oh, wow, it's not just about being a project manager. There's real growth in this career path. And we have all of those growth opportunities at NTT Data. And that's how I just arbitrarily, unintentionally got into project management 20 years ago. So you will notice that project managers are change agents. And as I started out, project management drives change. That's what it does. And that's what a project manager does. You don't have to be the subject matter expert on whatever change that's being implemented, but what you have to be able to do is ensure the team that surrounds you is able to deliver the service or the product that is being deemed for you to work on. So they enjoy the organized adrenaline. And I say that with a smile on my face because there are ebbs and flows, there are ups and downs. No project is perfect. I don't care how much you plan, how much you tweak your Microsoft project schedule or any other tool that you use out there. Those are just tools. They don't make the project run. The person in the team makes that project be successful. So you'll look over here and you see in the example, the development of software. That's pretty much a given from an IT project manager. But did you think the relief effort after a natural disaster is a project? Of course it is, because those teams that go out after that disaster, they have a plan. They don't just arbitrarily run out there with water and so forth. No, they have a plan. They know where to go get their team, their transportation, etc. So no different from that effort as to upgrading an operating system. There's some type of beginning, some type of end. And with project management, it allows you to be able to do different things without having to change companies. I've been in so many different roles at NTT Data. I've been given the opportunity to grow, expand, build my skill set. And it's not about always everything being successful. You learn when you fall too, because that's when you learn the most, when you skin your knee and you get back up and you get back in the game. So you have those opportunities. So as we move into what is a project manager and what is a project, let's talk about how you manage that project. Recently, I was interviewed by a colleague and they asked, okay, are there resources available to you, to a new project manager? What do you guys do? You know, how do people learn? And I said, there is a true project management life cycle, a framework for comprising distinct high-level stages. Every project should have these 5 stages: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. Each one of them has a different duration. I don't spend as much time in initiation as I do in monitoring and controlling, or vice versa. I don't do as much time in closing as I do in planning, but each one of them is relevant and is critical for delivering your project. Initiation, in a perfect world, if you're assigned as a project manager, is when you get assigned to a project and you're there ground zero, when you're developing the plan and you're understanding the agenda and understanding who the stakeholders are and what the expectations are. That's in a perfect world. Oftentimes, a project manager that starts the project is not the one that concludes it for whatever reason. So you have to be able to go in during the planning stages or executing and understand what the roadmap is. So that's why each one of these stages are critical for each project. You don't just start initiating and start executing without planning. Everyone has a critical phase, and each one of them, you should spend the amount of time needed based on the service or the offering that you are delivering to your client or your business. One other thing about project management, people always think, oh, it's just client driven, meaning I'm doing something or developing something for a client. That's not necessarily true. We do internal projects all the time. Companies are a business too. So at NTT Data, we have project managers in HR, project managers in IT, because we run a business just like any other client. And we have to do the same project life cycle, even though we are a leading IT company. So Project Management and Project Management Institute and PMP all emphasize the 10 project management body of knowledge areas. And this is where we'll focus a little bit more on that project human resource management that you guys asked me to focus on. All 10 of these areas, project integration management, scope, time, cost, and quality, are critical. Every project has some type of integration because it's a change. So you are integrating the new and getting rid of whatever the old is, or you're bringing in something new where something didn't exist. So there's some type of integration, and that project integration management is ensuring that you are meeting with the business owners to make sure you don't break any of their business and that they can still operate after whatever offering that you are putting in is deployed. Project scope management, another very critical component of project management, because we've all heard of scope creep. I don't care what you do. Scope creep is something that tends to come into play with any type of project. And being able to manage that, not necessarily being able to manage to every item that's in the contract, but being able to manage the scope so that it aligns to your budget and it aligns to the time that you have that has been set forward to complete this project. Scope management is where people succeed and fail. If you're unable to manage your scope and not get more money, typically you're going to be over budget in your project. So balancing those with your stakeholders and your business partners to ensure that whatever we set forward to do at the beginning, it may change because this is about change, but we have clear definition and communication on what we agree on, and that the money and the costs are still within alignment of that scope. Project time management. A beginning and an end. There's a definitive end date. Now, do we always end on time? Of course not. If you have some type of scope management, you have some type of increase in time. So no, we don't always end on time, but agreeing to what the new timelines are and communicating that out to all your stakeholders is critical in ensuring people aren't getting upset and ensuring alignment on expectations. Project cost, that's all about the money. It's real clear. How much budget do we have? And how much budget do I have at the end? Do I have cost overruns, meaning I overspent my budget and I'm way over, or did I come in cheaper than what I planned? Both of these are very critical. Managing your budget, no different than you as previous university students and your parents giving you money while you're off at the university. You got to manage to what you're given, or there's going to be some discussion with your key stakeholders, i.e. parents. So project cost management is not an open-ended checkbook that we can just spend. There's accountability to that budget. And then project quality management. It's not just about speed and cost. You want to deliver a good quality product, because if you don't, you're going to spend more time and more money redoing whatever that offering or that product is. So quality is crucial to making sure that you've gotten all the requirements, you understand how things integrate with other pieces of the business so that you can put out a quality product. The last thing any company or any project team wants to hear is, we spent 9 months working on something that we can't roll out because the quality is not to where it needs to be. So quality is critical. That's also how you win more business and how you get more work, when you deliver good efforts. So project human resource management. And you guys asked about this because this right here is very important. When I first started, I thought project management was just about, I got to deliver. I got to deliver whatever it is, whether it was an application that we were rolling out or some new hardware that we were trying to roll out. We got to deliver, we got to deliver. Well, one project manager can't deliver anything. That means you have a team. And when you have teams, that means you have different dynamics. People have different ways of thinking. You have a diverse group of intentions and the way people have done things before. In project resource management, whether it is managing your team of resources, your vendors, your client, or whether it's managing your stakeholders, because that's a part of resource as well, that is so crucial. And that is one of the most driving forces for projects being successful or not successful. You need to know when to manage people. You have to be empathetic. You have to be a change agent. You have to be strong enough to drive change and not let people run over you. You have to be confident. You have to know how to make people want to work for you. That's the important thing, because it's not just about you, and the project manager taking all the glory. It's about the team and making sure that you can allocate the right resources, or don't bring on a team and have them sitting around so that they can't work when they need to, and you're running up your budget and spending money and not getting anything out of it. So resource management is critical. And 9 times out of 10, it's what's drive your cost. Sometimes it's product, of course. Products cost more, like we have in COVID and so forth. But 9 times out of 10, it's human resource capital that costs you a lot with your budget. So as we get to Q&A, I don't know if there are any specific questions, Shrivani, on resource management that I can pause and kind of answer right now, or we can hold them to the end.
Let's hold them to the end. I see a few questions. I'll keep them ready by the time we end the presentation. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking
Communications management. So communication. That is so critical. Communicating to your team, communicating to your stakeholders, communicating to your client. All the way around is project communication management. Establishing templates and ensuring people know when they're going to get communication, how often they're going to get it. And with each project, it's different. As PMBOK states, these are knowledge areas. It doesn't say every time you're going to do the same way for each project. No, one stakeholder may want you to send out reports every week. Another one may say just do a monthly governance call. But communication and governance all fall into play with how you manage your project and how you're held accountable, quite frankly. Because if you're not talking to people and you're not telling them what's going on, that's how you get misalignment on what people are expecting. So next, project risk management. How do you manage risk? Every project has risk and issues. Every project. I don't care how much planning, no different than this wedding that I'm planning. Oh, it might rain. There's an outside wedding. Oh, the DJ might not show up. Oh, the cake, this. You have to plan for all of those things, because irregardless of whether it rains or not, guess what? The wedding still needs to take place on that date because all these people are coming in. So you have to have contingency plans, and you have to have ways to manage risk, whether it's risk avoidance, whether it's making sure that you have plans in place should they happen. Planning for those is critical for every project. Then project procurement management. Procurement, whether you're procuring services from a different organization, we got to go out to vendors and get some specialty IT people, or you're procuring products. We're ordering laptops from a company that we don't make laptops here at NTT Data. So if we're rolling out new hardware, rolling out new servers, we have to order that from some type of vendor, and that's called procuring and procurement. So you have a team that assists with that, but you have to ensure, I keep going back to the wedding, it's up to the person that's coordinating this wedding to make sure they procure the flowers from the florist and that they order the delivery service so they can be there on time. So project procurement management is key in ensuring that you have the products or the services that you need to integrate them with your project. Then project stakeholder management. Stakeholders are traditionally the business unit that wanted the service offering, or the leaders of the organization that want the products done. These are key stakeholders, and they're stakeholders internally and externally. Because even though I'm a senior director within NTT Data, I have a vice president and an executive vice president that are constantly watching all of the portfolios of business and how we are delivering, because we run a business and they are responsible for the bottom line, the profit and loss statements, how we're doing as a company, how are the PMs delivering from a CSAT perspective. So project stakeholder management is not just an individual item that a PM does, but it's traditionally a collective team of leaders that are on point that manage that whole stakeholder relationship. So what do you need to know to be a project management? I've covered a lot with the emerging, with the PMBOK and the 10 knowledge areas. There's a lot of things that you need to know. And before we go into emerging technology, I just want to talk about the vast range of tools that are available out there. There are so many different skills and knowledge areas, different types of frameworks, from agile to lean to waterfall. It can be overwhelming when you first start and you first think about this as a career path and where do I want to start and what kind of things do I want to do. But it does help you. There are resources. That is one of the things. There is an abundance of resources for project management, whether it's PMBOK, PMI, or any other type of project management framework that's out there that's listed. There's plenty of resources available to you. So the changing nature of technology and advances, and as you see on the screen now, how emerging technology is changing project management, there's always going to be change in technology. And there's not an expectation that you as a project manager know all of these. There is an expectation that you have some business acumen and that you're able to keep up and at least know what cloud migration is if you're looking at being an IT project manager and you're working in the infrastructure field, or you know what bots are if you're doing application project management. So yes, knowledge is key in having business acumen, knowing how to manage a team, and knowing some knowledge of the current technology is important. Emerging technology is changing project management. We have artificial intelligence right now for rationalization and automating complicated tasks for project managers. Before, counting bodies, determining how many people you needed, when you needed them, when they need to roll on, roll off a project, these were not things that you had any type of analytics to do. But now you have machine algorithms to allow project managers to deal with real-time data analysis. When my application team is looking at how many products they can roll out, they are using data-driven analytics to determine how many people they need and manage resources. The next thing we have now is IoT, the Internet of Things. And this connects everything. When I first started, every project manager had their own glory notebook that they carried around with them from meeting to meeting. You know, they couldn't live without it. They had it everywhere they went. Now, with IoT, project managers can build a network of connected devices by combining digital transformation and digital infrastructure. Physical resources such as equipment and machinery. I have been in project management for 20 years, and I know most people think a lot of people just started working remote the last 2 years with COVID. That's not true. I've been working remote for 20 years. I go into client sites, I visit clients, I go visit my teams, I travel all over the world to visit clients. But primarily 80% or 75% of the time, I work remote from home, and there's flexibility there. And NTT Data and our company allows us to do that. So as you saw in that video at the beginning about choosing your path and what's right for you and so forth, you have those opportunities here. I've been afforded those opportunities my entire project management career, and they will continue to be that way post-COVID. So cloud computing puts all your data at your fingertips. You don't have to be in the same building with your whole team. That's why we have Zoom, and we're talking to people all over the globe right now. That's why I can manage a team with people in India, Malaysia, Mexico, US, Pacific time zone, Eastern time zone. Yeah, sometimes the time does trying to find a common time for us all to talk. That's a challenge, but that's not something we can't get over. You know, we are easily able to put together times where we all can meet. So long gone are the days where all the teams are in the same brick and mortar building. A lot of companies are getting rid of a lot of real estate to allow people to have the flexibility to work from home. Productivity is what we're looking for. That's what I look for as a manager. And being a project manager in today's age with emerging technology does require discipline. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you. You can't just say, oh, I work from home, I'm going to roll up in my pajamas, go play golf, go do this. So you still got to get the job done. So it requires discipline on you because you're no longer in school where somebody is making you get something done or watching over your shoulder. You're no longer in a building where your manager can just walk up to you and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, how's it going? How are you doing with that project? You have to self-discipline yourself and make sure that you're keeping on target with the things that you need to do. So why is project management a growing career path? You know, when I first started in my career 30 some years ago, the big thing, there was a lot of fuss about medical degrees and law degrees. But I will tell you now, project management is a growing career path. And there are a lot of studies that show that in certain countries, they will need more than in the next 10 years, the PMI report indicates demand will grow faster than any other profession. There's going to be so much opportunity in this particular career path. Now, as I stated to you at the beginning, it's a straightforward career path. There's a straight line trajectory in project management. You know, I can be a project manager. I can evolve and grow into a program manager. I can evolve and continue to grow into a program director or portfolio director. There's a plethora of opportunities with this career path. And the other thing is there's lots of industry options. You can pretty much pick your industry. I have worked in healthcare. I have worked in state and local government. I have worked in manufacturing, commercial accounts, I have worked in every type of industry that's out there. Is it easy to transition from one to the other? The primary skills of being a project manager, being able to lead, being able to multitask, manage a budget, manage a team, those go with you irregardless of what industry you're in. Now, can I be a senior director in healthcare having not been in healthcare for the last 15 years? It might be a little bit harder because they want you to have those skill sets. But starting out, yes, you can go in any industry that you want, that you desire, or that you feel, whether it's hospitality or commercial industries or manufacturing. All of those have project management. And we have them here at NTT Data because in every different vertical of business that we offer, we have project managers. We always do. And uniqueness. Projects are unique and temporary. So if you get bored easily, you know, I have a beginning and I have an end. And at some point, this project is going to end and I'm going to get something different. There's no time to be bored because there's always something unique. Every project is different. And then knowledge expansion. There's always skills-based learning initiatives. There's always an opportunity for you to grow and learn, because just like emerging and technologies are constantly emerging and changing, that means project managers have to learn a little bit more and learn something new. So there's always an opportunity to grow in this field. So as we move to the last slide, and I don't know, did we have one more polling question before we move to this last slide? Shrivani, did we have a polling question that we wanted to put up? Okay, we'll come back to it if we do. So, okay, is it possible to change industries as a project manager? Yes, I just told you. I myself have changed industries, and it's definitely easy as you start out your career. If you start out in hospitality and you say, maybe not as much, and you want to do something else, you can. As you get further into your career and you rise in the chains and you have more expertise in a certain area, then it's a little bit more challenging. But starting out or new career professionals, you've been doing something for a few years, you have a business degree and you want to transition into project management, yes, most definitely. You can change industries as a project manager. So on this screen, recently, I read an article by FlexJobs. And as a hiring manager at NTT Data, I'm constantly trying to understand what's going on in the economy, in the world, what jobs are young adults looking at, because we are constantly looking at young people coming into the career fields that we can grow and they can learn and we can help them move into the career path. The four that you see on this screen: information technology, engineering, software development, and consulting, are the emerging careers in project management. And by far, these are the highest paid salaries. Now, there are several different other ones: construction, energy, healthcare, pharmaceutical, marketing. You know, there's every kind of different industry or different types of project manager, but information technology, by far, these are the ones with technical prowess, with business acumen to direct their organization's computer-related activities, whether it's the company that you work for and you work for internal business unit, or if you're client facing and you do delivery for clients. Engineering, project managers work closely with engineers as they figure out how to create something new or solve a given problem. We have energy clients that we work with, that we help them solve problems in the environment. In software development, as I mentioned, software project managers. They use their technical background plus their ability to explain concepts to lay people. And lay people are people that aren't IT driven. You got to be able to talk and be able to have other people understand what it is that we're doing. So consulting project managers provide organizational skills and follow through needed to obtain results. All project managers, that's the goal, to be a change agent and to drive results. And these are 4 emerging careers in project management that we at NTTDA to offer roles in. So we are at the end of my presentation. You know, I want you guys to understand that there is a clear trajectory. That's what I want to play. And I hope that what I've shared with you will help you in your career journey. Let's go ahead and open it up to Q&A.
I have a first question, which is what a lot of webinars get asked. Which book would you recommend for somebody who is interested in project management?
So I can't recommend a particular book because it depends on what industry and what you're trying to do. What I will say is PMI has a list of the most common books. Of course, Who Moved My Cheese is one of the first business books that they have us read when you're going into project management or going into a managerial role, because it's about change and you have to be able to adapt to change. So if I'm saying any book that would span any type of industry, that probably would be one.
That's nice. Tina Wilson is asking, there are several project management trainings available, PMP, Prince, Six Sigma, and so forth. PMP is generally the most common in my experience. Do you have any opinion of the less common options from PMP and their value in comparison?
All the options that you listed there are relevant and are current in the industry, and depending on what company you work for, is the one that they want you to go with. I would say, depending where you are in the world, that I would look at what's the general one, to be honest with you, because that's the most common one that a lot of employers will expect you to have. But all of them are very good, and any certification will put you a little bit above any other competing resources.
One more question. How do we handle failures in projects?
The same way we handle failure in life. Failure in anything is a learning opportunity. Now, do I tell you go out there and just bomb on something intentionally? No, of course not. But with anything that you do, there's a learning opportunity. And I learned early on in project management, especially when I moved from doing projects that I wasn't familiar with. Case in point, I used to do a lot of upgrades and hardware upgrades. And then I had a manager say, okay, I want you to go and stand up that service desk for a huge client. I said, I don't know anything about service desk. I can't do that. And he said, yes, you can. And I said, really? He said, yeah, you can. And if you mess up and you scrape your knee, well, brush it off and get up and let's keep going. But this is a great opportunity for you. And that was probably 15 years ago or 17 years ago. And that was the first time that I realized that it was okay to make a mistake. And if you make a mistake, if you have a good leader, they will help you see, okay, this is the mistake you made, and this is how we need to do it differently going forward. And you keep moving. It's not the death of your career.
That's nice. Swati is asking, can a fresher take up project management as a career immediately after graduation, or is it a role that is experience based?
Um, there are entry level roles. So, yes, you can. But I would say the best way for someone straight out of college is if you do have some type of certification. Because what employers will see is that you've taken the initiative to go out and get extra training specifically in this area and that you're serious about it. A lot of companies will pay for you to get PMP certified or some of the other certifications, but they also want a return on their investment, which means I'm not going to pay $700 or whatever the current rate is for PMP certification, and then you leave in a year and take it somewhere else. So you can start out, you can look for entry level roles. There are also roles in business analytics, that business analysis, that tend to move people from there to project management. So you don't always have to have 2-3 years of experience.
Okay, I have one more last question. How do we
Sure.
manage large projects with 100 plus members? What are the ways to track progress and perform project management for such large projects?
Great. So you determine what metrics and what it is that you're trying to see. If we're just trying to see productivity and I gave you assignments or I asked you to come to work to do what you need to do, there are all types of reports that are out there. If it's service desk, we see how many tickets that you're closing within the time frame that you're supposed to. If it's application development, we have ways of doing that too. So having other people that are team leads to manage a subset of people. One project manager can't have his or her pulse on 100 people. That's not practical. But you'll have a certain number of team leads, whether it's somebody that manages the application team, somebody that manages the procurement team, and they are more involved in the day-to-day responsibilities and have ways to check and manage team members. And what's important in regardless of what size your team is communication and making sure you set expectations on what's expected of everybody. The whole work remotely, some people don't always take it seriously and they don't discipline themselves. And that's one of the things that we see. It doesn't mean if it's from an entry level or it's a first time person that's never worked from home. It's a little different now that we've been in COVID and everybody's been doing this. The majority of corporate has been remote, but being able to communicate, having team meetings, sending out emails, doing Zoom calls, being on camera with people so they know who you are and what your expectations are. That's how you manage a large team and manage a large project. Shrivani,
Thank you,
any other
Alicia.
questions?
I see a few more questions coming up, but we are almost at 8 o'clock. So I'll request everybody to post your questions or you can send it to me on my email. I will make sure Alicia receives them and she can respond them to you on an email. I have posted a feedback form on the chat window. Request everybody to post your feedback because that will help us also to provide better trainings and also conduct more webinars and what kind of trainings or technologies that you all are interested in, and we can conduct more webinars in that line. And Alicia, thank you for such an insightful topic discussion about something so relevant. And I see a lot of feedback. People are already sending good feedback. So that's a good sign. I can share the feedback once we complete the webinar and I'll send it to you on an email. And thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate everybody taking your time and joining us today. And like I said, please do post your questions on my email. And you can always reach out to Alicia on LinkedIn. And if you have anything specific to ask her, you can reach out to her on LinkedIn. Alicia, any parting comments?
Nope. I just want to wish everybody well in their career paths and their journeys. And thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.